And now, time to work. I have the pleasure to invite to the floor Eric Hazan, McKinsey and Company partner. He's going to introduce the first session and to introduce an exclusive survey. Hello, Eric. About news consumption. For a conversation, the most important is to know to whom we are speaking, with who we are connecting, with who we are interacting. So, and not just to whom, but also how is his or her behavior, and which kind of worries, interests, and desires he or she has. So in this survey, which is an exclusive one, ready-made for this session by McKinsey and Company, Eric will explain to us how is the behavior of people, of our consumers, and how this consumer behavior impacts also on its news habits of consuming news. That's it? Eric, please.
Thanks very much. The short video first.
Back in the middle of the 15th century, the production of large-scale publications was made possible by the invention of the printing press by Gutenberg. It was the first media revolution, but now another revolution is taking place. And with it, the consumption of news through digital media platforms has been exponentially growing. Now there are people consume news. In 2007, 50% of all media was consumed digitally. In 2020, 80% of all media will be consumed digitally. For instance, UK news consumption has risen 20% on all platforms in the past 3 years, an increase driven almost entirely by people under 55 years of age. Do you know how the shift from online to mobile devices impacts the way people buy and read? Do you know the impact of social media becoming an important gateway to news consumption? Do you know what new challenges come with further digital migration? And do you know how this new reality disrupts advertising, consumer targeting, and in the end, revenue generation? How can media players best benefit from these evolutions?
Today, of course, the question is not to go or not to go online. The question is how media players can win online. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Eric Hazan, and I'm a partner with McKinsey and Company in Paris, and the leader of our media and entertainment practice and our digital consumer initiative in Europe. When I was 13, I got my first computer, and it was connected, but to a tape recorder. I was really proud, but I was not that good at coding, so I ended up at McKinsey. Also, I belong to a generation that witnessed the internet revolution, but when I looked for insight on how digital consumer behaviors were impacting the media industry, I could not find any. And therefore, we started this research. I'm here to present our latest work on the impact of shift in digital consumer behavior on the media industry. Since 2008, McKinsey has launched a global research initiative about consumer digital behavior all over the world called iConsumer. We have surveyed more than 180,000 consumers across North America, Europe, Asia, and there are some insightful insights for media companies. We all know that the internet and the digital migration have a huge impact on today's media industry business model. But as mentioned in the video, do we really understand deeply how new customer behaviors impact the media industry? Let's see what challenges this evolution brings and what the opportunities you have. So from our research, recent shift in digital consumption brings 4 main challenges. All of them are linked to one another. The first one is about devices and the necessity to design new business model for new devices. The second one is about readers' attention and how to build on the new ways that they interact with the content. The third one is about digital migration and the link between where we read or consume news and who we are. The last one is about advertising revenues and how consumers are shifting their eyeballs even faster than before. Finally, we will try to understand how media players can best benefit from all these trends in their future practices. So as I said, the first shift is about devices. How many of you have a smartphone in their pockets instead of a standard mobile phone? Well, for France, 40% of French handsets are not smartphones. Smartphones are becoming part of our daily life in developed economy, but also in emerging ones. And they may have an 80% penetration rate in the US population in 2015. And it will be also very significant for BRIC countries. Another reason why smartphones are important is that they may be the first truly personal digital reading device. 55% of smartphone users in Europe say this is their only really personal device. This is twice as much as laptops and PCs. Also, mobile devices continue to capture a larger share of consumer time. In the US, for example, mobile phone use grew by 14% in the past 3 years. And the funny thing is that the amount of time spent talking shrunk from 60% to 27% in 3 years. And why is that? They spend much more time on data usage than on voice. Another device is gaining momentum, and this is tablets. Europe experienced a huge increase in penetration of tablets from 2010 to end 2011. Look at France. It grew from 3 to 11%. Look at Germany. It grew from 5 to 18%, from 3 to 22% in Spain, and from 2 to 14% in Poland. Additionally, there are even more counterintuitive insights when you look at the way people read depending on their device ownership. If you take the time spent reading everything from book to electronics by smartphone user, and we give them an index of 100, people having a tablet are spending 25% more time reading. People with e-readers are spending twice as much time reading. And people with all these devices have an index of 232. That makes device ownership one of the best ways of targeting readership. Also, when they are carefully animated, digital consumers are happy to pay for digital content. Look at the iPad and iPhone users. 25% of iPhone users and 32% of iPad users have purchased games in the past 6 months, to be compared to only 8% for the rest of the population. So what would be the key implications for media players? Clearly, in order to win in this new landscape, media company needs to develop a real mobile strategy, and this is mandatory. Focus on multi-platform content, proactively and not reactively. Design innovative business models, such as multi-device subscriptions, short-form content, and new sponsorship opportunities. Another critical challenge is how to attract and retain people's attention. And this is all about social media. Social networks have become gateways to news consumption. For example, in the US in 2011, as much as 35% of the people we surveyed say that social media are their content starting points. And this is an increase of 162% compared to 2008. Even more. Look at this page. People are spending more time on social networks than on news and information websites. This is why social network will continue to represent a gateway to people communication and to cannibalize mobile voice and even emails. And they will continue to be a gateway to information and news gathering. 23% of social network users say that social networks are very important to stay up to date on news. However, there is still a discontinuity between time and advertising. 27% of the time of internet user is spent on social media, and it represents only 6% of ad spending online. Of course, that will probably evolve. So what are the implications of this battle for readers' attention? Social network will continue to be a gateway to content consumption. It is therefore an obligation for media companies to optimize their presence on social network. But these social networks are both friends and foes. Also, in this new world, media companies need to understand how to deliver a distinctive content consumption experience through multiple gates. New devices and social media are not the only shift in consumer behavior. The migration to digital continues, and it continues even faster. To understand this in more details, we did a specific zoom on the UK market, and there are good news. More than 56% of the population have consulted both a newspaper and a website in the past week. One explanation is that print still probably has a edge in quality. 51% of consumers in the UK find newspapers useful for the quality of content. However, when you focus on niche content, if it works, yeah. When you focus on niche content, main part of the time spent reading is on digital. Also, there is a massive generation gap in perception and use of media. For example, 55% of people between 25 and 34 years old consider internet is the most useful channel for news. It is only 11% for print. The paradox is that the younger readers trust less and less the general websites, the general news website, especially compared to newspaper. So more usage, less trust. All in all, what are the implications of this faster digital migration for media players? Distinctiveness, meaning to know where you are distinctive in terms of brand and content. Consciousness of the fact that digital is the only ticket to the future. Trust that you need to build on the digital platform more and more. Finally, there is a paradigm shift in advertising. And this impacts traditional, but also digital advertising, especially on revenue generation strategies. So we know that some categories of products and some categories of advertisers are already gone online for research and for purchase. That would be video games, electronics, books, video. But do we know that 40% of US people, US online users, buy sometimes shoes? You know, the devil is in the details, and as more and more digital population mirrors the whole population, you now can cut the digital consumers in many multiple pieces. Both media players and advertisers will need, for example, to have a different strategy for people that consume 4 times more online videos than the others, and that represent 12% of the online users. For media players, there is a need for more big data and the need to understand your audience intimately. There is also a need to partner more and more with the advertisers, which are in fact also still adapting to this new digital experience. So how can media players benefit from all these trends in their future practices? Today there are 4 innovative business models that should be investigated. Pursuing sponsorship at scale. Proprietary lead generation approach to drive sales for others. Focusing on consumer-paid content, which does not mean forget your free audience. And exploiting digital video content options. Let's take an example. An example you know. The New York Times has been able to attract almost 450,000 paid digital customers without weakening its wider web audience or its print circulation. What we need to understand is that we're all in the lead generation business now, and we need to deep dive into the granular test of the audience to finally create deep partnerships with e-commerce players. In fact, by doing so, media companies could more than double their online revenue. And there are 4 overarching questions. Which part of our content and experience could become sponsorable platforms? In which categories can we directly influence spending decisions? Which part of our audience love us, love you enough to pay for your content? What is the authentic, affordable, and scalable video content model for our brand? All this again could double your online revenue. So if we give some recommendation, what could they be? Design mobile strategies for the long term. Make social network a key element of your proprietary lead generation effort. Understand and adapt yourself to the changing nature of online customer segmentation. Build experiences for consumers and advertisers alike. And finally, adapt your business model for the web we have, not for the web we'd like to have. All this without losing your soul. Thank you for your attention.